Welcome back to Miami Realty Rundown. I'm Adil.
And I'm Carlos.
And today we have a very special guest. His name is Dennis from Hometown Loans Program.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here, Dennis.
Thank you for being with us, Dennis. Today
You're
we
welcome.
want to dive into the Hometown Heroes program that everyone is anticipating. But before we dive in, Dennis, would you mind telling us a little bit about you, how you got into the industry of mortgage?
Sure. Just a little bit. I want to reveal my age, So I got into this business 21 years ago, and it's been great ever since. I just love helping families, seeing the joy in their buying their first home or second or third is what kept me in this industry. I started back in 2003. I was in the finance department for a major, fuel providing company, World Fuel Services, out of Doral. And a bunch of friends of mine just started getting into the mortgage business and the real estate business. And I said, hey, let me just take a look at this. And then one thing led to another, and I just stayed here, made it a full-time gig.
Good.
Awesome.
I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
Dennis is great. He's helped me with quite a few transactions, and he's wonderful. Always on top of everything, responsive, and gets the job done.
I second that. Absolutely.
That's free advertising. I didn't pay for that.
Free advertising. It's a little plug there.
Thank you, Carlos. It was a pleasure working with you. So, same. Carlos was very, very professional, very, very on top of the transaction. And, most realtors, they do a perfect, excellent job. But Carlos went above and beyond for this family. And it was a point where they thought they weren't going to have it. We got a couple phone calls during that time with tears.
Well, they were worried.
Yeah.
Seriously worried.
Yeah, they were. But I kept on telling her, if I worry, then you worry.
Yeah.
And at no time was I worried. So it was a difficult loan. Self-employed borrowers, self-employed borrowers out there, they are difficult. Just, be patient. It will get done. But
If you have the
ultimately, we
right
got it done.
team, it'll get done.
Right. So
That's amazing. Those are
Thank
great
you.
stories to share. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So let's dive into the first question. So what is the Hometown Heroes program, and I guess who can qualify for it?
So the Hometown Heroes program is a program sponsored by the state of Florida, and it's open and available to all Florida residents. So if you live in Florida, and we'll dive into some more of the eligibility criteria as we go along with the show, but
Right.
basically anyone in Florida, all residents of Florida, it's open to you, and you can buy with the Florida Hometown Heroes program. It gives you up to 5% of the amount that you're financing, your loan amount, as down payment and closing costs assistance.
Awesome.
Okay, so basically, they're looking at 5% of their purchase price for that can go towards closing costs and down payment.
So it's 5%, that's a common misconception, 5% of the amount that you're financing. So if your purchase price is $300,000 and you're giving 5% down payment, you're financing what, 15,000 minus 300,000, you're
Right.
financing 285, 5% of 285.
Okay, so it's not the
Okay.
purchase price, but the finance.
It's the loan amount.
The
exactly.
loan amount.
It's the loan amount.
So they still have to come up with a little bit of.
Right. It's what I tell borrowers all the time. It's down payment assistance, not down payment and closing costs. I'm going to pay for everything.
Right.
You still need to have some funds. Sometimes, especially veterans, you veterans out there, you don't have to come with anything. The reason why I say veterans
veterans are
is because
different,
veterans is 100% financing.
Right.
So the closing costs are covered by Hometown Heroes for veterans. But typically, plan anywhere between 5 to 10,000. That's a safe number to come with when you're doing one of these programs.
Okay. Great.
Okay.
Is the assistance a grant, a loan, or is it a forgivable loan? And if there's a repayment penalty, if at all?
Right, that's a great question, and a question we get all the time. It is not free money. So there are a few different types of down payment assistance programs. First of all, the grant. A grant, that is free money.
Right.
A grant, you do not have to pay it back. However, this is not a grant. This is not free money. It is a deferred second lien mortgage. So basically, let's just say the max is $35,000, right? So if you're financing $700,000, you get the max of $35,000. It is a second mortgage that they put on the property. 0 interest, 0 monthly payments. It is due either when you sell the property, or you win the lottery and you decide to pay it off cash, or you wait the whole 30 years and you're a great citizen and you decide to pay off the house in 30 years, then it is due. So at some point in time, it's called a deferred loan. So it's a non-forgivable deferred loan. At some point, it is due back.
Okay.
So
But
for the life of the loan.
for the life of the loan,
Right,
right?
okay.
Now, there are a couple exceptions. You know, you can refinance and not have the loan be due. Let's say you refinance because you have to, but you don't have enough equity. You can go to the state, and the state will then grant you permission to refinance your mortgage and include the Hometown Heroes again into it, so you don't have to pay it back.
Okay.
So, but it is, just to your point, a deferred, non-forgivable, no interest, no payment, second mortgage.
Perfect.
Okay. So, all right. So the actual title of the program might be a little confusing. So it's Hometown Heroes, right? So does that include all professions, or is it just our first responders, or?
Yeah, so the reason it was Hometown Heroes is because shortly after COVID, so we're in 25, this came out like in 22, so shortly after COVID, it was for Hometown Heroes, firefighters,
Right.
nurses,
Okay.
teachers, doctors, basically anyone that had a license with the state of Florida. It was meant for them. However, last year, they dropped that. So now we call it the Florida Hero, because it's for everyone in Florida. There are a few criteria, such as you must be employed by a Florida-based employer.
Okay.
That's huge. So if
important.
you work remotely for a national company, but that company does not have a brick and mortar in Florida, you're not eligible. It has to be a company that is Florida-based, meaning it has a brick and mortar in Florida. Another criteria is you must be a full-time employee, whatever is defined as full-time for that employer. So if full-time means 38 hours,
Right.
38 hours, and it will be verified.
Yes.
If you're self-employed, my self-employed borrowers out there from South Florida, it will be verified with a letter from your accountant or your tax preparer. It must say that you are a Florida-based. Obviously, you always have, the majority of self-employed borrowers have it from out of their house. So it's Florida-based. Just with a letter, it'll be confirmed.
So those that work from home are still considered brick and mortar.
Yes, if you're self-employed, if you're a 1099 contractor, whoever's paying you that 1099 income, they'll verify that they are Florida-based.
Okay.
So as long as you're generating income from Florida, then you qualify.
Right. Okay.
If you have any confusion, you can just reach out.
Yes.
At the
Call
end.
Dennis, and he'll answer any doubts you might have.
So that leads me to my next question. Do the buyers have to be first-time home buyers, or are there sometimes exceptions to that rule?
There are exceptions to the rule, but let's clarify first. What is a first-time home buyer? There's a huge misconception
Big one.
in the market of what is a first-time home buyer. A first-time home buyer is defined as somebody who has not been on title and have ownership of their primary residence in the last 3 years. So I could have owned a home, sold it 5 years ago, and I've been renting and I haven't had my name on my primary. I'm considered a first-time home buyer after 3 years.
Okay.
So you must be a first-time home buyer. The exceptions are, one, VA. So if you're a veteran, you're exempt as long as you provide a DD-214. Secondly, if you're buying in a federally designated targeted area. Basically, these are neighborhoods that are they need help. The government's trying to uplift them economically. So you don't need to be a first-time home buyer if you're buying in that area.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Makes sense.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, but those are few and far in between.
Those are, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so does the application process, is it the same as any typical loan?
It is.
Or what kind of documents are you looking to receive so that they can qualify?
So every lender is different. So whatever lender you call, they work differently. Some lenders, you might call them, especially the bigger lenders, the retail lenders, your Bank of America's, Chase,
Yeah.
Wells Fargo, they might just get your information over the phone. I recommend, even if you do that, even if you call a major retail lender, make sure that you are providing all your documents, because you don't want any surprises at the end. So when I do them, I typically ask for W-2s, tax returns, pay stubs, 1-month bank statement, and your IDs.
Right.
The reason we do this is to, number one, we don't want surprises during the process, right? Number two, you want to make sure that you're qualified. And number three, the funds run out quickly. They run out in about 2 months. Last year, they ran out in 2 months.
Wow.
The year prior to that, they ran out by December. So you want to get this done right now.
Yeah, because there's only so much money in the program
Allocated
that the
for
state
it.
puts.
Right. At the beginning, they allocated $250 million.
Wow.
But it was only for hometown heroes, so it wasn't used
Yeah,
because
there's not a lot. There's
Right.
not a lot of first responders.
exactly. So
So
then
there was more to go around.
when they renewed it to 100 million, and they opened it up to the whole state of Florida.
Yeah.
Funds were gone quickly.
So, okay.
Yeah.
So, Dennis, my next question is, does this program affect the type of loan that a consumer can use? For example, we have FHA, conventional. Does that, I guess, hinder, right? Like the type of loan that someone wants to come in with, or can they use any type of loan for Hometown Heroes?
So they cannot use any type of loan, but the major loans are eligible. So FHA is eligible, conventional is eligible, VA is eligible, and USDA is eligible.
Okay.
USDA for rural areas, which you have more towards central to North Florida.
Right.
VA, obviously for veterans, FHA is a great program with Hometown Heroes and conventional. The programs that are not eligible, because I do have people ask, are your typical non-QM loans, meaning your bank statement only, your no income verification type of loans.
Right.
Those loans are not eligible. But conventional FHA, VA, USDA, those are eligible for Hometown Heroes.
Okay.
And just to throw in a little bit of extra there, because of those programs are eligible, Hometown Heroes has their own rate. The majority of these programs, such as the grant, their interest rates are higher than the market. That's how they make their money, right?
Right.
The interest rate is slightly higher. So if the market is now at 6.6, they might be around 7.1. It's just higher. Hometown Heroes does not do that. Hometown Heroes, you get the market rate. In addition to that, they don't charge origination fees. So there is no origination. And another hidden value that is a part of this program that not a lot of people talk about is, because this program is sponsored by the state does not pay taxes. Just like you go to Publix and you buy gum and you pay taxes, you have to pay taxes when you buy a house. It's transfer taxes. The state does not pay transfer taxes, so that savings is passed along to the borrower. So that's an extra $2,000 to $3,000 in savings right there.
Nice.
Oh, I did not know that. Very interesting.
Guys, you
Yeah.
gotta take advantage of the program if you're in the market. Seriously.
Wow, that's amazing.
Now, if for the viewers that are watching, do they have any income or purchase price limits?
There is income and purchase price limits for conventional. Well, let me get into the income first. So the income limits, they vary from county to county. So I recommend you call your lender and find out what your income limits are wherever your area is at. So for example, Broward County is like 158,000.
Okay.
Miami-Dade County is 170.
Individual or?
Individually.
Okay.
Individually. And then the purchase price limits, conventional is the same across the board. I believe it's 766. And then FHA, again, it depends on the area.
The area, right.
Broward and Miami-Dade, the Tri-County area is like 621 on FHA. So for example, in the Keys, because prices are higher in the Keys, it's a lot higher.
Yes.
It's probably like 800 or 900,000. So every area is different.
Okay.
Okay, and just to tack on to that, does the program apply to all type of property?
Yes,
So
you
even
can buy.
condos?
You can buy a condo. You can buy a house. You can buy a duplex, triplex, fourplex. You can even buy a mobile home, but the mobile home does require a little extra down payment. I believe it's 15% to add on to
For the mobile home, you gotta
for
own
the
the
mobile
land.
home, right? And there is restrictions on there. It has to be 1976 and above. The wheels, it can't be
Yes.
mobile. It has to be grounded. It has to have the land has to be a part of the purchase.
Yes.
It can't be like a condo where you don't own the land. So there's again, contact your lender for
Yes.
specifics on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But at least you got the gist of what you can look at.
Right.
Yeah. So now, can this assistance be combined with other programs as well, or we're just talking about Hometown Heroes can only be with Hometown Heroes and we can't tie it into other programs?
Well, the beauty of Hometown Heroes is that you can tie it into other programs. Again, contact your lender. They'll give you specifics. But it can be tied in. The only thing it cannot be tied in, so this program is sponsored by the state, so you cannot use other Florida housing programs with it. But if you have a local Miami-Dade housing program, you can tie it in.
Okay.
But again,
Okay.
talk to your lender because you don't want to open up a can of worms.
Right.
It could become an issue. So talk to your lender, make sure that it's something safe to do, what's in your best interest to do it.
Okay, so I have a two-part question. So first, when does the actual program start again? And then what kind of advice do you give for the buyers that are actually interested in applying for the program?
So the program opens July 1st. That's when it first opens. My advice: get pre-qualified now.
Yes.
Now, I have already 2 borrowers that are already under contract, and you're not even in June yet, and they're already under contract, and they're already through the process. Now, the way it works is we'll get them through the process. We'll get them, we'll go over to the appraisal, get all the conditions cleared, and then come July 1st when the program opens, we flip it to a Hometown Heroes. We go into the state system, we reserve the funds, and by July 10th, we're closing. So the earlier you can get pre-approved and start shopping, get under contract, the faster we can go into the system and reserve the funds for you, and you can be assured that you're going to get the Hometown Heroes program.
So we have to be under contract to reserve the funds.
Right, you must be under contract. You cannot be shopping, because in order for us to reserve it, we have to give a copy of the contract.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Does that lengthen the approval process, the loan approval in the contract phase?
No. So during the phase?
Yes.
No, during the phase, it's
within the
parameters.
Okay.
Right, it's within the parameters. So this program, unlike some other programs, it's very transparent. You don't have to tell the seller that you're getting down payment assistance.
I was gonna ask that
It closes
question.
in 30 days. There's no extra paperwork or anything of that nature. You do have to do a first-time homebuyers course, but you can do that online.
Right.
You can go in, come out. It takes like 3 hours. And then they give you a certificate at the end. But I give them the website at the very beginning. They knock it out in a weekend, and then they're done with it. But
Yeah, try and get your ducks in a row as early as you can, so that everything moves slower, or not slower. So everything moves better and faster.
Smoother, right?
Smoother, yes.
You don't want any surprises at the end. I
Yeah,
mean,
no.
even if you're not doing a Hometown Heroes program,
No, we
you
already have
should
enough
get-
surprises.
Right, you should.
You don't want to
get all
add
your-
on to it.
Yeah, you should get all your documents to your lender, because they want to make sure all your ducks are in a row. You don't want surprises. Even
Yeah.
though I might not need your tax returns, I want to see what's in them in case they do ask for them. I know what's in them. I know if it's going to be a hindrance to the
Yeah,
loan
so
or
you
not.
can prepare.
Exactly. And if you're self-employed, especially if you're self-employed, get the documents to your lender, because you are going to need further documentation along the line, and you can get a head start on that. For example, P&Ls and balance sheets. You are going to need those during the process. We don't ask for that up front, but you are going to need those during the process, and you want to make sure. I want to have a conversation with your accountant to make sure that all your ducks are in a row before we go under contract.
Awesome. Dennis, thank you so much. I feel like this gives our viewers a better peace of mind and a lot more information. Hopefully they feel more comfortable with the Hometown Heroes program. But thank you so much for your time and for being here with us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you guys for
Thank
your
you.
invite. Thank you guys for what you're doing. You're educating the public, and that's what we need, is education. So thank you guys for what you do.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
So if you have any questions about the Hometown program, call Dennis. His information will be at the bottom. And always remember to subscribe and ring that bell so you can keep getting our shows and our episodes in your inbox. Thanks.
Thank you.